Hello and welcome to Games Past Their Prime. This is a show where I take a look at video games to determine if they are past their prime or not. For me to do so though, there is a couple key categories which I look at. Story, presentation, and gameplay. Then there's a conclusion section at the very end where I wrap everything up in a nice little bow. You guys have read the title, you know what game we're playing. Let's take a look at Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Star Wars Rogue Squadron came out in 1998 during the holidays. The game is split into 4 different chapters that each open with the classic Star Wars scrolling text. You mainly play as Luke Skywalker after the events of A New Hope, but before the events in The Empire Strikes Back. Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles create and form the Rogue Squadron, a group of 12 of the most skilled pilots from the Rebel Alliance. You'll then start to complete missions, some of which are escort missions, and there's rescue missions and attack missions. After the first couple of missions, the rebels learn that an Imperial officer named Crix Madine wants to defect to the Rebel Alliance. However, the Empire learns of this and attacks the city that Crix is stationed in. After Rogue Squadron saves the city and rescues Crix Madine, they are sent to the moon of Grand 5 and attempts to help them gain independence from the Empire. Along with Rogue Squadron, the Gold Squad is sent to help them, which is a group of Y-Wings that are now led by Crix Madine. During this mission, the Empire sends the 128th TIE Interceptor Squad, which is considered a very elite squad. After Rogue Squadron defeats the 128th TIE Squad, they manage to disable the TIE Interceptor of the leader of the squad, Cassian Moore. Rogue Squad tells Cassian Moore that she has been taken prisoner, to which she replies back that she wishes to defect, and with it provide the Rebel Alliance with Imperial intelligence. With the help of her intelligence, the rebels launch attacks on 3 different Imperial bases. However, during one of these attacks, Wedge Antilles gets ambushed by a group of TIEs and is then taken prisoner. So Luke, along with the remaining members of Rogue Squadron, are able to track Wedge to a prison complex on the planet Kessel. After freeing Wedge from the prison complex, a new Imperial threat shows itself in Moff Cole Círdan. Círdan has been gathering an army to attack and capture Thyfera, I think is how you say it, a planet that makes a healing substance called Bacta. Rogue Squadron attempts to disrupt Círdan by targeting key Imperial targets on different planets, such as Talaran and Fest. However, Círdan decides to retaliate and attacks and holds a planet hostage called Chandrila. However, the rebels have a new plan that was designed by Cassian Moore, which is to attack an Imperial base located inside a volcano on Sullust, which is able to produce large amounts of energy through the use of thermal generator. While Rogue Squadron was busy doing this attack though, Círdan used this to start his attack on Thyfera. Rogue Squadron is sent to defend Thyfera and have a final encounter with Círdan where Luke shoots him down, killing him when his ship explodes. In the very final chapter and last mission of the game, it jumps into the future 6 years after the Battle of Endor. Rogue Squadron is now being led by Wedge Antilles rather than Luke Skywalker. During this time, the Empire still hasn't fully fallen due to a new leader taking over the Empire, which ended up just turning out to be a clone of Palpatine. The Empire have built new weapons called World Devastators, which are apparently like mini Death Stars and have been destroying many other planets. During this mission, the Empire has sent a couple of World Devastators to the planet Mon Calamari, who has asked the New Republic for help. As a note, the rebels after Endor established the New Republic, so the rebels in this case are now just the New Republic. With this request, the New Republic sends out the Rogue Squadron, where they disable and destroy the Devastators that were sent to the planet. That is the end of the story. Alright, let's take a look at the graphics. I don't know if it's just me, but for a game made in 1998 and with the limitations of the N64, the graphics actually look pretty good. Not only do the graphics look good, but equally there is a fairly wide variety of stages, each fairly unique. Except the 2 snow levels, though to be fair, there's only so much you can do with that, and it's only 2 out of the 16. They also use color to their advantage. Some places are dark and others are nice and vibrant, and it mainly depends on the planet you are on. This just helps to change up what you are looking at, so that you don't get bored with the same repetitive looking levels. Battle tanks! The 3D models actually look pretty good, and you don't really notice the blockiness of the levels due to the speed you are moving at during combat. However, with this said, when there is a lull in combat, you will notice the environment is a bit blocky and, well, let's just say the water doesn't exactly look great. But overall, with this said, I feel they did a really good job making the main points of the game look good. One thing I quickly want to talk about before I talk about the music is that this game has voice acting, and to be honest, it's much better than I expected for a game in 1998. You can understand what everyone is saying, and it all sounds correct. Nothing sounds cheesy or weird. Anyways, with that said, let's move on to music. And frankly, it'd be pretty hard to mess this up with a Star Wars game. I mean, Star Wars just has a great soundtrack, and this game does a good job with this in mind. Not all the music is memorable, and the ones that are typically just normal Star Wars music from the movies that has just been mixed to be used in the game. However, there are a couple unique tracks that are just good. So instead of wasting your time, I'm just going to let you listen to the ones that I think stood out the most to me. Star Wars Rogue Squadron plays sorta like a flying dog fighting sim? It's hard to explain. I mean, it does make a certain amount of sense when you think about it, because you are flying a ship. It's weird. Now, this does mean that the control stick is indeed inverted, and typically, as you know, this does bother me. However, because we are flying a ship, I can understand the controls, and it never actually bothered me that much. I was able to get used to the controls fairly quickly given the situation. The A button is used to speed up the ship you are in, while the Z button is used to brake the ship. The B button allows you to fire your primary weapon, while the C button left allows you to fire the secondary weapon, such as missiles. Then the C button right allows you to use the special feature that isn't available on all the ships, but some of the things that are used are the ability to fly faster than the X-Wing, and to use the tow cable in the airspeeder. Speaking of different ships, you have access to 5, though there are 7 ships available, and we will talk about the extra 2 in a little bit. The main 5 you will use throughout the campaign are the X-Wing, A-Wing, Y-Wing, Airspeeder, and the V-Wing Airspeeder. The X-Wing is the most iconic of them all, so I'm not going to go into too much detail other than the X-Wing has a normal attack that uses 4 blasters rather than 2. It has a secondary that shoots missiles, and its special allows it to close up its wings to fly faster. The A-Wing is faster than the X-Wing and has twin blasters rather than 4, and missiles as well. However, the A-Wing can't take as much damage as the X-Wing. The Y-Wing is basically the bomber on the list, and it moves the slowest out of these ships. However, it can take more of a beating and can dish out quite a bit of damage with its blasters and bombs. The Airspeeder is fairly recognizable as a ship that is seen during the Battle of Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back. It flies low to the ground and is quite quick, and it isn't the most powerful ship or even have that much armor, but the one gimmick it has that makes it useful is that it has a tow cable that allows you to wrap up the legs of the AT-ATs to take them down. The V-Wing is a ship you don't really get to see until the very end. However, it is basically the upgrade to the normal Airspeeder and flies higher, faster, and dishes out a bigger punch. Now, for the other 2 ships, they are the Millennium Falcon and the Naboo Starfighter. However, you can only gain access to these ships through passcodes in the options screen. There are a variety of different passcodes as well, such as ones that unlock secret levels, infinite lives, and other fun secrets that I don't wish to spoil in case you decide to play the game. There are 16 missions in the main campaign. They start out fairly simple and easy to get you used to the game, and towards the end of the game the levels become pretty brutal, some of which I even spend an hour on to get past. Each level takes place on a different planet, which gives you plenty of variety to look at, and each mission has you doing something different, to a degree. Most missions contain any combination of the following: rescue, defend, escort, or attack. However, while all missions boil down to these points, they are done in a way that it doesn't really bring down the game and it never really gets boring. The flight and combat feels really good, and when you're in dogfights, you really feel like you have total control over your ship. And it feels great when you shoot down enemies, and really it never gets old watching them blow up. Now, I may be praising this game pretty heavily right now, but it does have some negatives. Ones that in fact nearly broke me, and did end up breaking my chair. Remember when I said earlier that the game gets pretty brutal? Yeah, it doesn't exactly feel fair the way they do it. The first mission I noticed this was a rescue mission. You are one of the snow planets and a group of rebels have been able to steal some of the Imperial walkers. Your job is to head to the planet and rescue and escort the walkers back to a landing zone. However, everything is trying to kill these walkers. There are turrets, AT-ATs, mobile turrets, which we haven't seen up until now, and TIE bombers. On top of this, you start the mission needing to find the walkers, and when you do, there's already an AT-AT shooting at them. You happen to be in an airspeeder, so you need to wrap up the AT-AT with the tow cable. However, while you are doing this, you are getting shot at, and the AT-AT is shooting the walkers. Once you take this one out though, you need to move quickly to get in front of the walkers and take out all of the turrets and the other two AT-ATs before the walkers reach them. If you don't, then the AT-ATs will destroy the walkers. However, while fighting the third AT-AT, that's when the mobile turrets spawn and start to take out the walkers. You'll likely lose one due to this, but that's fine. Just take out the rest of these mobile turrets as best as you can, and beware that the TIE bombers are coming soon. You take out the bombers and mobile turrets throughout the rest of the path and clear the way for the walkers. Now, this may not sound so bad. However, everything I just told you is not communicated to you. It feels like I have to guess everything until I figured out all of the timings of this specific level. This isn't good game design at all, and you will likely lose a lot. However, not because you died, but because all the walkers will get blown up, and that instantly loses the level. This level is the one that did end up breaking my chair. Listen, I get you want to make the game harder, but not properly communicating to the player what is coming and going to happen is just bad. Now, I'm going to segue to Dark Souls to make a comparison. It is a game that is also considered brutally hard and forces you to learn the game quickly. Some people may say that this game is only difficult because of its trial and error and how unfair it feels. However, I disagree. Dark Souls teaches you quickly that this world isn't exactly fair, and that there will be things hiding in corners to jump out at you at all times, and boss fights will teach you their specific patterns very quickly. Now, you will die a lot in this game, but early on you are taught the core mechanics of the game, and you learn how difficult this game really is, but that doesn't make the game unfair. Not at least in my opinion. So the difference here is that throughout Rogue Squadron, you are given mission briefings that kind of give you an idea of what's going on. And even when things change in a level, they either have a cutscene or have some type of dialogue that brings you up to speed, preparing you for what's going to happen next. This snow level doesn't do that. Sure, it has a mission briefing, but it is so short, and it doesn't properly prepare you for the hell that awaits you. It doesn't communicate when the bombers are coming, it doesn't tell you about the AT-ATs properly, it doesn't tell you about the mobile turrets that apparently dish out a shit ton of damage. I don't understand what they were thinking with this. Now, the level after this one is honestly the one that broke my will. It's a mission that takes place in a volcano where you need to destroy a thermal generator. However, it is protected by a shield, and there are a dozen or so shield generators inside the volcano you will need to destroy. You'll be flying the X-Wing so that you can bomb the generators, but there is a downside. This level is just pure chaos. There are turrets everywhere, including missile turrets that seem to home in on you. There are walkers all over, and this map is small because, well, it takes place in a volcano. Remember, there's about a dozen of the shield generators, and each of them is protected by a group of turrets on a small map, where you are likely getting shot at by at least 6 to 8 turrets at any given time. This level, I really tried to beat, but I just couldn't do it. With the previous mission and now this one, I knew the game was only going to get more difficult, so I caved and used the infinite lives passcode. See, normally on each mission you're only given 3 lives. There just was no way I was going to beat this mission, or the ones following in only 3 lives. I just couldn't do it. I'm not bad at games, and if I wasn't on a time crunch I may have attempted harder, but it's just ridiculous how hard this game got in comparison to the rest of the game. The following 2 levels to these ones did turn out to be just as difficult in many ways. Honestly, the last quarter of this game really did more harm than good in my opinion. It felt like they found the game was too short, so all they did was ramp up the difficulty the last couple of levels just to pad its length. But they didn't ramp the difficulty in a way that seemed fair in my opinion. And this is why I compared this to Dark Souls. Dark Souls is immediately difficult, and you learn it. And while it does ramp up a bit, it's constantly teaching you how difficult this game is. Star Wars Rogue Squadron goes from a game that's pretty easy to a little bit more challenging to a little bit more challenging to a little bit more challenging to holy hell, this is really impossible. Have fun. It just didn't feel fair in my opinion. I'm gonna be honest, figuring out the verdict for this game actually is very, very difficult. I had to reach out to a couple of friends and discuss it with them and bounce my thoughts off of them just to figure this one out. However, I did come to a conclusion. So, with that said, the verdict of Star Wars Rogue Squadron is a game not past its prime. Now, I may have disliked some bits of the game, but they were only the last 4 levels. When you consider the game is 16 levels long, and only 4 of them were actually bad or annoying, I think it's fair to say that I liked about 80% of the game. So by that logic, I think it's enough to say it's not past its prime, though it does have a few hiccups. Now, let me list the top 5 reasons why I believe this to be the case. Number 1. The graphics still held up mostly well. The models of the ships looked pretty good still, and the different worlds you visit looked overall decent. Though some of the textures are not so good, you typically aren't seeing them up close, so it didn't really bother me, to be honest. Number 2. The story is alright. It's a little all over the place, but it keeps you at least somewhat interested, and the voice acting is pretty well done. Number 3. The gameplay as a whole is actually really well done. The gameplay loop is pretty fun and satisfying, with you shooting down TIE fighters or taking down AT-ATs. Honestly, I had a blast for the majority of the game. 4. Most of the levels are designed well, and the game actually for the most part has a very good difficulty curve where the game slowly starts to get harder. Though keep in mind, this is not accounting for the last 4 levels of the game. Number 5. Finally, the game was just overall fun, but it did unfortunately leave a poor taste in my mouth, which almost clouded my judgment of the entire game. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did enjoy watching it, please consider subscribing. I upload videos every Sunday. Stay tuned to the end of the video to get a hint as to what the next video will be. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching.